Pull a Ram 1500 and a Ford F-150 onto the lift, look at the rear axle, and you can read each company's entire strategy in the suspension. One spent extra money to keep your spine happy, but the other spent nothing, because a work truck does not care about your spine. Let me show you. I have had both of these trucks in the air more times than I can count, and the longer I do this job, the more obvious it gets. Ram builds a luxury vehicle that happens to have a bed. Ford builds a work tool that happens to have cup holders. That is the whole argument, and I am going to back it up with hardware, with money, and with a decision Ram made recently that basically proves it for me. So let me start with the loudest piece of evidence because it is fresh. A couple of years back, Ram decided to kill the 5.7 Hemi V8 in the 1500 and replace it with a twin-turbo inline-six they call the Hurricane. On paper, that is a smart move. The Hurricane makes more power, around 540 horsepower in the hot version, and it beats the old Hemi on fuel economy, which made 395 horsepower and was thirsty doing it. But Ram's customers did not care about the spreadsheet. They turned on Ram. Guys who had bought Ram trucks for 20 years walked into the dealer and said they were done. So Ram did something you almost never watch a truck company do. They reversed it. They brought the Hemi back for 2026, and the head of Ram got up in public and said, and I am barely changing his words, "We screwed up, we own it, we fixed it." Now here is the number that should stop you cold. When they announced the Hemi was coming back, they took 10,000 orders in the first 24 hours. Ford has never once had to stand up and apologize for an engine because Ford never sold trucks on feelings in the first place. That is the tell. Ram sells you a relationship. Ford sells you a tool. Hold on to that because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. A confession from a company boss is still just words, though. I want to show you where this split actually lives in the metal, the exact thing I was pointing at when we had that truck in the air. Go back to 2009. Ram did something no other full-size half-ton had the nerve to try. They threw out the leaf springs in the back and bolted in coil springs instead. Here is why that matters. Leaf springs are those stacked steel strips bouncing over your rear axle, and they have been on work trucks forever because they are cheap, they are simple, and they take a load like a champ. But empty, they ride rough. Every pothole comes straight up through the seat. Coil springs soak that up. There was an engineer who tuned pickup suspensions for a living, drove that 2009 Ram a few miles, and said he figured every other brand would copy it within a year. They did not. And that is the part I want you to sit with. Ford still runs leaf springs on the F-150 today, on every trim except the Raptor. It is not because Ford engineers cannot read a ride chart. It is because switching to coils means redesigning the frame and the brackets, and when you build more trucks than anybody on earth, that cost is huge. So Ford keeps the cheaper setup that hauls great and rides like a buckboard wagon when the bed is empty. I will say it plainly. An empty F-150 rides like a hayride, and the Ford guys are going to fight me in the comments over that one, and I say bring it. Now to be fair, the leaf spring crowd has a real point. Load that bed down heavy, day after day, and a lot of them argue the Leafs hold their shape better while the Ram coils squat and sag when you load them down all the time. I have seen both. But for the way 90% of people actually use these trucks, which is empty most of the week, the Ram setup wins the ride every single time. And Ram does not even stop there because you can get a four-corner air suspension that lifts and lowers the whole truck and rides so smooth that one big reviewer said it can ride better than a limousine. Ford will not even put that on the truck most of you would actually compare it to. But ride is just the opening argument. Walk around to the door, open it, and the luxury thing stops being a theory and starts being a showroom. The top Ram 1500 right now is called the Tungsten, and the sticker lands right around $91,000. For that, you get a 23-speaker Klipsch stereo, 24-way massaging front seats that are heated and cooled, real wood, real leather, a suede headliner, and screens everywhere you look. That sounds like a Mercedes that can pull a boat. And this is not some new idea Ram panicked into. Go all the way back to 2011 and the Laramie Longhorn. Ram stitched filigree into the leather, put burled walnut on the dash, added little saddlebag map pockets with chrome flaps, and called it the most expensive Ram ever built. Ram lit the fuse on the entire luxury cowboy truck arms race, and everybody else, including Ford, has been chasing it since. I personally think the massaging seat is the most honest piece of engineering on a modern Ram because it tells you exactly what that company believes a truck is for. Now let me defend Ford for a minute because this is not a hit piece and I am not a Ram fanboy. Ford has been the best-selling truck in America for 49 years straight. Think about that number. The F-Series is the backbone of working America, and the reason is the part of the lineup Ram basically refuses to fight for. Ford Pro, the business side, has something like 41% of all the work trucks and vans sold. Plumbers, electricians, contractors, city work fleets, they buy Fords by the dozen. And the Super Duty is the proof. Since 1999, Ford built it as a separate, ground-up truck with a heavier frame and stronger axles, made to drag a fifth wheel up a mountain for 300,000 miles. Then in 2015, they put the F-150 on an aluminum body to cut weight and bump payload, and ran it through the Baja Desert in disguise to prove it would not crack. That is a company obsessed with the job. The numbers follow the philosophy too. A maxed out F-150 tows around 13,500 pounds. A Ram 1500 tops out closer to 11,600. Ford wins payload by a hair as well. So if towing heavy is your whole life, Ford takes the title fair and square. But I have to be straight with you about those max numbers, because the dealer never will. That 13,500 figure only happens on one exact, stripped-down truck that almost nobody actually buys. For most real buyers, the towing gap is closer to a rounding error than a reason. Ford's own numbers say the F-150 is mostly regular folks buying one truck, around 80% of them. The real fleet muscle behind that 49-year streak is the Super Duty, not the half-ton. Ram went the other way on purpose. Their rental and fleet sales fell off a cliff, and they came right out and said it. They would rather sell one nice truck to one guy than 100 stripped-down work trucks to a rental company. Ford built a commercial empire. Ram looked at that empire and said, "No thanks, we will sell to the guy who wants leather." Now, one fair shot back at my own argument, because I owe Ram this. The minute you step up to the heavy-duty side, the 2500 and 3500, Ram absolutely can build a serious work truck. That 6.7 Cummins inline 6 is a cast iron legend, the kind of engine guys put 300,000 and 400,000 miles on, and something like 7 out of 10 heavy-duty Ram buyers check that box. I had a high-mile Ram 2500 on the lift just last month, a work truck caked in concrete dust, the Cummins still running like a sewing machine while the body was falling apart around it. So Ram is not allergic to work. They simply decided the half-ton, the truck most of you are actually shopping, is where they plant the luxury flag. And they are not shy about it. The 2026 Hemi trucks wear a fender badge Ram calls the symbol of protest, basically a middle finger aimed at the people who told them to kill the V8. If you are getting something out of this, do me a quick favor and tap subscribe. It helps the channel more than you would think. All right, back to it. You even see the split bleed into the fun trucks. Ram's hot rod, the TRX, is a street brute with a luxury cabin you take to dinner. Ford's Raptor is built to fly across the desert and land in one piece. Same idea, two different souls every single time. Now for the part nobody likes to talk about. Both of these philosophies send customers through my bay, and both of them send repair bills. Ram's comfort is wonderful right up until it breaks, and when it breaks, it is not cheap. That gorgeous air suspension is one of the most expensive things you can fix on a pickup. A full system, all four corners plus the compressor, can run $5,000 to $10,000 at a dealer, and I have personally quoted a guy right at $10,000 for one. It tends to start failing somewhere around 50,000 to 80,000 miles, which is right when the warranty waves goodbye. The Hemi has its own famous gremlin too. The cylinder deactivation system, the thing that shuts off cylinders to save gas, can wipe out a lifter, and once that lifter lets go, it can grind a cam lobe and send metal through the engine. That is a $3,000 to $5,000 repair, and I covered exactly what that noise sounds like in my Hemi tick video, because catching it early is the difference between a cheap fix and a teardown. The mild hybrid setup on these trucks has thrown its own faults too. So that comfort and that tech, it has a tab attached. Now before any Ford guy gets smug, your trucks are not innocent. The 6.0 and 6.4 Power Stroke diesels were two of the worst engines Ford ever put in a truck, blowing head gaskets and clogging coolers. So bad they created a whole industry just to fix them. The cam phasers on certain Ford V8 trucks rattle like a coffee can full of bolts. And the 10-speed automatic has handed plenty of owners a harsh, confused shift and a trip to limp mode. Nobody is clean here. Anybody who tells you their brand never breaks has not owned enough trucks. And this next part is going to make the Ram crowd cocky and the Ford crowd mad. When you add up what each truck actually costs to own, the Ram 1500 comes out slightly cheaper to keep running per year than the F-150. And in the big dependability study the whole industry watches, the Ram 1500 just jumped up and took the top spot in the full-size light-duty class, ahead of the F-150. The truck everybody calls fragile is, by the numbers right now, the more dependable half-ton. I did not expect that either, and I have been wrong about Ram before. So here is what 20 years under these trucks tells me. Ram made a bet that comfort and a nice interior would win the half-ton war, and it worked well enough that they nearly doubled their share and keep winning Truck of the Year awards. But that same instinct, chase smoother and fancier, drop the Hemi, is exactly what nearly blew up their relationship with their own buyers and forced that public apology. Their greatest strength and their biggest weakness are the same decision. Ford bet on the work, the fleet, the most engine choices, and the patience to keep its best seller simple and cheap to build. It is boring, but it is a safe bet, and it has held the crown for 49 years. Here is my honest opinion if it were my money. If you tow heavy for a living, or you need 5 trucks for a crew on Monday, buy the Ford and do not think twice. But if you drive a truck because you actually want a truck and you are going to spend 2 hours a day living inside it, the Ram is the better thing to own, and I will happily take the comments on that. Those are different buyers, and these two companies stopped pretending otherwise a long time ago. So whichever way you lean, buy the truck that fits your life, not the one that looks best on paper. And do yourself one favor before you sign anything. If you are even thinking about a 2026 Ram 1500, go watch my video on the 5 reasons you should wait for the 2027 instead. There is one change coming next year that can make a brand new 2026 worth thousands less the day after you drive it home. And if you buy right now without knowing what it is, you are going to feel it the second you try to trade it in. Watch that one before you spend a dime. I will see you over there.